Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. One of the scariest nights of my life happened when I was working on a small horse farm. I lived alone in a trailer on the property. The job didn't pay much, but I got free housing and spent my money on food and fun. Most of my days were the same routine of feeding horses, refilling water, and cleaning the stalls. It was quiet work, and I liked the peaceful setting. One weekend, the owners went out of town, leaving me in charge. I didn't mind being alone. I was used to handling everything myself. On the first night they were gone, I finished my work earlier than usual. I made dinner, settled into my chair, and turned on the TV. That's when I thought I heard faint footsteps outside. It didn't seem urgent, just the kind of noise you ignore. Then came the pounding. Loud, aggressive knocking slammed against my door without warning. I jumped so hard I almost flipped my chair. I didn't move at first. I was frozen. Then the pounding came again, even harder this time. It rattled the door like someone was trying to break it down. Heart racing, I stood and looked out the side window. Nobody was standing there. I thought I saw someone in the distance running, but the night swallowed the figure too quickly for me to be sure. I put on my boots and coat and stepped outside, needing to know what was happening. That's when I saw it. The main house was on fire. Flames were climbing fast, lighting up the night sky. I took a few steps forward, trying to get a better view, and saw someone running toward the stables. That sent a fresh wave of panic through me. The horses were still inside. I grabbed a tool from beside the trailer and ran after him, yelling for him to stop. He didn't respond. I got close enough to throw the tool, and it hit his leg. He fell hard. He turned to face me, holding a gas can, and charged. Before I could react, he slammed the can into me and knocked me over. But I wasn't out. I pushed myself up, ready to fight back. He saw that I was still moving and bolted. He sprinted to a nearby truck and peeled off into the night at full speed. Later, the police caught both men involved. That's when I found out the truth. The man who pounded on my door wasn't the same guy who tried to set the stable on fire. He was an accomplice, and he didn't want the horses to die. That pounding on my door was him trying to warn me, to pull my attention away before everything went up in flames. And the worst part was what came next. The police told me the original plan wasn't just to destroy the house and the stables. The man had planned to burn down my trailer too, with me still inside it. If his partner hadn't tried to warn me, I might not be alive to tell the story. I took a job at a warehouse in the small town where I grew up. That was over 4 years ago. I had no big hopes for it. I just wanted to earn a paycheck and go home to my kids. The work wasn't bad, and the money was decent for what we had to do. I worked second shift for 5 months, then switched to day shift. Back when I was on second shift, I mostly kept to myself. That changed when I started talking to a guy from one of the lines. We shared an interest in gaming, and we clicked pretty quickly. I'll call him JF. One night after work, I got a friend suggestion on Facebook. It was JF. I figured why not and added him. From there, we started talking more and eventually began hanging out after work. He seemed like a decent guy. After about a month, he introduced me to his girlfriend. At first, she seemed normal. Friendly, outgoing, no red flags on the surface. We all started spending more time together, usually when my kids were with my mom. One evening at a restaurant, JF opened up about his relationship. He said, "Man, sometimes she really loses it. The other day I forgot to take out the trash and she threatened to stab me. I've never been in a relationship like that." I laughed nervously, thinking he was just being dramatic. But the way he looked at me made it clear he wasn't joking. That was the first sign that something was wrong. Months passed and they were still together. We continued hanging out. I pushed the memory of that conversation to the back of my mind. But then one day, something felt off. He looked tense when we were all hanging out. I asked him what was wrong. He smiled and said he was just tired. But he wasn't looking at me when he said it. He was watching her. The next day at work, I asked again. He made me promise to keep it between us. I agreed. He said she pulled a gun on him when he told her he wanted to break up. She pointed it right at his chest and told him that if she couldn't have him, no one could. He said he talked her down and was trying to find a safe way to leave. I told him he could crash at my place if he needed to. A year later, he finally ended things for good. He did it over text. That set her off again. She threatened to kill him. He was off work that day, using a vacation day. Then he texted me something strange. Let me know if she shows up looking for me. Not long after, she pulled into the parking lot at our job and asked me where he was. I lied and told her I thought they were on a trip together. She drove off. I called him right away and told him. He called the police. They found her not far from his place, sitting in her car with a loaded gun. A couple months later, he told me she was out of jail. He asked if I had seen her. I hadn't. Then he told me to take some vacation time. I asked why. He said her cousins were in town and she was looking for people she held grudges against. He said my name was on that list. I didn't wait. I packed up my kids and left town for 2 weeks. The next day, I found out her and her cousins had gone to a nearby town and killed 3 people in an apartment. One of the victims was on that same list. Turns out JF had been added by accident to a group chat on Messenger. It was filled with names. People thought it was spam and ignored it. But he recognized what it was. He saw 3 names of people who got killed. Mine was the 4th. Once the authorities got the screenshots, everyone involved was charged with first-degree murder. After that, I changed the way I handled friendships. JF never warned anyone else. He only told me. And even though I'm alive, I'll never forget how close that was. We don't talk anymore. And honestly, I think I got lucky. Real lucky. I was 30 when I bought my first apartment. It was in a working-class neighborhood, perched just above a busy arterial road that served as the main route to and from the motorway. Cars and trucks passed by constantly, day and night. Still, the place was affordable, and I figured it was a good starting point. Since I worked in the city and parking there was far too expensive, I commuted by bus. The stop was right outside my building, which made things easy. I could walk out my front door and be on my way in minutes. One evening, after a long day at work, I stepped off the bus like usual. There was already someone standing near the stop. A man I didn't recognize. As soon as I approached, he moved toward me. He said his car had broken down and he had run out of petrol. He pointed down the road and said it was just around the corner. But from where I stood, there was no car in sight. He was holding a gas canister and asked if I could walk with him to the petrol station, which he said was 5 minutes away. I had a bad feeling right away. There was something off about him. His story didn't make sense, and the way he kept looking at me made my skin crawl. I told him no. At first, he nodded and turned to walk away. But after just a few steps, he spun around and rushed at me. His face twisted with anger as he lunged forward, yelling something I couldn't fully understand. I bolted into the road without thinking, weaving between cars as I tried to escape. As I ran, I heard him shouting behind me. He screamed something about my blue eyes. Said he'd remember them. Said if he ever saw me again, he'd kill me. I didn't stop running until I was completely out of sight. I avoided my usual entrance so he wouldn't know where I lived. I took a back street and circled around the block to enter through the rear of the complex. Later that night, the man showed up again. The security cameras caught him trying to force his way into every building in our apartment complex. He had also been recorded doing the same thing to another complex just down the road. After that, I stopped taking the bus home at night. I couldn't shake the fear that I'd run into him again. Even now, when I walk past that spot, I feel like I'm being watched. I was playing in the basement one evening during Halloween break. I was still a little kid, and my parents had let me go downstairs after dinner to play with my toy kitchen set. The house wasn't fenced at the time, so it wasn't unusual for people to cut through our backyard to get to the open field behind it. It was already dark outside, probably sometime after dinner. I was busy serving fake meals to invisible customers at my pretend restaurant. The basement was quiet except for the occasional creaks and pops coming from the boiler room behind me. That room always made strange sounds, so I didn't think much of it. The door to it stayed shut all the time. If it was left open, the whole house would start to smell like fuel. I kept playing without a care in the world. Then another sound came, louder than before. I paused and turned to look. The boiler room door was still shut. There was nothing strange to see. I brushed it off and went back to my little game. That's when I heard something that made my blood run cold. A knock came from the small window right in front of me. I looked up. There was a man staring at me through the bars of the window. His head was tilted slightly, jammed between the iron bars, just enough to look inside. I froze. His face is still burned into my memory. He wore an old Nike windbreaker and a faded cap. His beard was thick and untrimmed, and there were deep shadows under his eyes. He looked completely drained, and his expression showed no emotion at all. Just a blank stare locked on me. I didn't move for a few seconds. Then I ran. I shot up the stairs and shouted for my parents. My dad didn't hesitate. He grabbed a hammer and rushed down to the basement. But by the time he got there, the man was gone. Vanished into the dark. Dad even jumped into his car and drove around the neighborhood, trying to spot him. We never saw him again. We figured he must have run through the field behind our house. Even now, years later, I still get nervous in that basement. Just being down there brings everything back. The memory of that face, that window, and that cold feeling in my chest never really left. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.